Hi everyone, thanks for joining me today. My name is Arthur. I'm the administrative assistant at Calvary United Church. Today I'm going to look at a small project on Shotcut, a video editing software. So when we first start and open Shotcut, this is our screen. So the first thing we want to do is decide where we want to save our project and give it a name. So we click the projects folder and decide where you want to save. I've already got a folder set up here. So I'll select this folder, give it a name. And then we want to set the video mode. There are lots of options here, but the most standard and basic and simple one is this HD 1080p 30 frames per second. If you select that one, we should be good to go. So you click start, and then now what? So we've got some main sections here that we want to take a look at. This is the playlist area. This is where we'll put all our sound and images and any clips or anything else we want to use. We put it here. In this section we'll talk about a bit later are filters and then export, of course. This area, the timeline, this is where we'll put all our clips, and it is where we'll see how things come together. And then up here will be a preview area, so we can watch things back and see what it looks like. Okay, so let's just to get going, I'm going to add a couple video tracks just so we have some things to work with. So I'm just right clicking in this gray area and add video track. We'll just do 3, add video track, and then because I'm going to have some music, I'm going to add an audio track as well. You can see the A is audio, V is video. And audio would work for voiceovers or anything that doesn't have video attached to it. Okay, so now let's take a look at the project that we'll be working on today. So thank you to Reverend Nora for letting me use a prayer that I did recently. That makes things a bit easier. So let's just take things kind of section by section and try to keep things simple. So the first thing we want to do is just kind of go over, read through, and look for any cues or any things that might jump out at us. So the first thing I see when I see this line, there's a semicolon here, so that seems to me like it would be a good title card. A title card for me is just usually like a black background with white text on it, just to get information across to the viewer, and then we can kind of use these to add images and text. Okay, so back to Shotcut. So now I've already created some text in advance. I like to use different program. I don't find Shotcut's text I have as much control. So that's, I guess, a topic for another discussion, but any word processing or desktop publishing that you are comfortable with will do that. So I've found the text file I want to bring in. Make sure we're on the playlist section for Shotcut. If it's a PNG file, that means it'll have a transparent background if you need. So I just usually save all my files as PNG files for text. So all you have to do is drag that in. And we might as well just drag in It would help if I brought in the right one. We want opening prayer title 1 for a title card. Sorry about that. Yes. Okay, so this is the one we want. And then once you've got this, you'll see you can just bring this down into our timeline view. And you'll see in the preview, this is where it shows up. Now you can adjust the length of this. The default is 4 seconds for images, and we'll just keep it to that for this example. Again, depending on depending on how long you want the image to remain on screen, that'll determine. So it might take some testing to figure that out. Actually, because this is an opening title card, maybe we'll put it for 5 seconds. So there we go. Okay, so I guess too we'll want, because we're gonna have this project with music, that'll kind of give us a range of how long our project will be. So I've already found some music. This is a site that I've found many actually good songs that fit for many projects. It is 100% free, and you don't have to give attribution or say where it's from. I often do, just because I appreciate what they're doing, even just to say where you got it from, freepd.com. So you can click these different categories and find that. There are other options as well. I've just had good luck with this site. So once you've got the audio dragged in, you just bring that down as well. And you can see this is the audio waveform, just so you know where it gets louder and quieter. So let's give this a test just to see. You can see over here, this is the peak meter. It's showing how loud the sound is. So you want to keep a close attention to that. If it gets too high, the sound will be distorted. I like to keep it around this -20 to -10 range. That seems to be a good, consistent rate. So that's good. The sound's coming through. So let's get back to the prayer. So we've got this part. So now, where are you, God? Where can we find you? How do we know you're there? That makes me think of that maybe somebody is lost and can't find their way. So then I would come to Unsplash. That's another really good free site for resources. This one's images, and then I would just search lost as a keyword, and then there are many options depending on what you're kind of going for. I found this one. This one seems like a person's kind of lost in a maze. This one seems like someone's kind of lost and alone. So I kind of picked that one. Again, depending on what your project is like, just think of keywords, and there's things that might jump out at you that would describe the text being said or shown. So let's bring in those images that I got. There's one. The maze. And then I did have one other one. but we'll just stick with these two. Oh no, there it is. So again, we just drag those in and they fill in. Make sure you've got playlist selected. And then we can get going. So back to Norse Prayer. Where are you, God? Where can we find you? How do we know you're there? So for me, this one seemed like, where are you? Because the person feels most lost. And again, if you put the playhead over top, you'll see in the preview the image shows up. For me, I don't always like, if the image doesn't fit, we can get into filters. They just allow you to control the image or the video and do some adjustments as you need to make sure that it looks and sounds its best. So make sure it's selected. You'll see this red around, and we'll click filter to make sure we're in that window, and then the plus sign. And so we want to change the size. So we go to size, position, and rotate. And you'll see now there are these little drag slider things. So that'll be handy. You'll also notice that it automatically filled to the screen. If for some reason you drag beyond there and you can't, you can bring this back to get that again. But if for some reason you lose and you can't get back up to those arrows, if you click here and this zoom 10%, it'll make a smaller view, and then you can bring those back down to the screen. Once you've got it in place, let's go back to our regular view, zoom fit, and I'll go there. And then once we're there, we'll go back to the playlist and we'll bring in the where are you, God text. And if you put it over top, you'll see both images. So here again, you can move things around just by selecting them, and I like to make sure that this snap tool, if you take that off, it means things will be just kind of go where you stop. And if you're trying to line things up, it might not be as easy, but if you click snap, it'll snap to the edges of things. If you move this, you can snap to that, or you can snap to the edges of your projects or clips, and that just makes things easier to line up. So again, we don't want the text necessarily covering the person, just so people can tell. So we'll do this, select the image, click filters, I'll add the size and position filter, and then here we can move it up if we want, and we can make it a bit smaller. And there we go. So then on to the next. Where can we find you? For that one, I like that maze image. So back to the playlist, bring in the maze image. I'll just increase this. So they're both the same. Actually, I made this one too long. Let's take it down to 5. You'll see again how that snaps. So where can we find you? Let's bring that text into Shotcut. Another good thing, if you know you're gonna have a lot of pieces to your project, it's good to save them in individual folders. I'd like to have my images in one. This is the video file that's saved, and then text, and anything else. If you have music, it just helps to keep things a lot more organized. Also, you want to keep all these items as close to your video file as possible. That way, if anything ever gets moved, it'll break the project, because when you bring things into the playlist, it acts like a link. So the project is not, the clips aren't actually stored within the project. It just refers to them. So if you move things and then open the project again, you could get just a warning message, and you'll have to re-find all those files for Shotcut, just so you're aware of that. But again, if you keep everything together, you shouldn't have an issue with that. Okay, so let's bring in that text. Drag this in. And again, I had to play around with this to kind of get where I liked the text, and just so that the image and the text fit well together. So again, you'll use size, position, and rotate quite a bit. That's one of the most that I use. So move that over here. Again, you want to change the position of the text. To resize it, just drag these in. And how do we know you're there? Bring in again. This one made me think of the person is thinking, lost in thought, not sure what's really out there. Again, just to resize to fill up that black border and readjust. Another thing to make sure to always do in Shotcut is save. Just Control S. I've had it crash on me quite a few times, so it's always good to save your work as much as possible, just in case that ever does happen. Okay, so now we're gonna grab the text for this image. How do we know you're there? Again, we just make sure we're in the playlist, and we just drag it in. And when you're ready, bring it in here. And again, we had it at 5. So we'll just keep that consistent. I think I'll make this a bit bigger. So again, we'll go to Filter, Size and Position. And then just make it a bit larger to fill up the frame. And at any point, if you want to go back and test just to get your timing for the text, especially, I like to read it out loud or read it in your mind, and you kind of get a sense of how long it takes the viewer to read, and then maybe add a second or two just so that it has time to sink in. So that's kind of a good way to judge. And again, you can leave it as long as you'd like, but there's a point, I guess, where too long is too long. But you'll know what works well the more you do it. Okay, so now that we've got this section in place, let's have a listen and see what our timing is like. So reading it aloud, I think the opening is good. That one's pretty short, so we could probably leave that. Where can we find you? How do we know you're there? I think those work for now. On to the next section. Again here, we see another colon, so that would be a good title card. So we will bring that into Shotcut. Excuse me while I just get back to the right folder. It's not what I meant to do. We'll drag it in here. And then just drag it to the screen. You are the one who will not leave us nor forsake us. You are the one who guides us through the wilderness and offers us hope. You are the one who listens to our prayers, empowers our hope, gives life to our dreams. So you will not leave us nor forsake us. That could, I kind of think about, well, does that help? Helping? So kind of just again to look for words that give you something to search for. So on Splash, we can search for help. And you see there's lots of possibilities for things like that. And here's the image that I found. So I've already downloaded it. So we can go back to Shotcut. And then we'll go to our images. We can bring this in. Then we'll bring in our text. You are the one who will not leave us nor forsake us. So this is a fairly long sentence and might be tough to put all in one. So I thought to split it up. You are the one, which we can then reuse that text for the next couple. So that kind of limits how much, or just makes it easier for us to use or reuse text. And then who will not leave us, and then we can break that again into nor forsake us and have those show up one at a time. It's a bit more work to do the extra text like that. That means so you are the one would be one file, who will not leave us would be one file, nor forsake us, but it has a nice effect when you add them all together. So back to Shotcut, we will bring those in. Remember to have your playlist set. Here again, it helps to have your text labeled. You are the one, and we'll start with that one. who will not leave us. I don't know if you guys can see this white line. That means wherever you let go, that's where the file will be placed, just sometimes for organizing. That comes in handy, so feel free to put things wherever works best for you. And then we want the nor forsake us. I'll try to keep all those close together. I made the image a bit longer just because we'll have more text coming in. So we don't want the text to be over top of the image. So we'll move that using filter, click the plus sign, and then size, position, and rotate. And then we've got this symbol, we can move it up. And then on to the next piece of text. Again, just to be able to move that, I'm fairly happy with the sizing of it, so we'll just leave it as is, but adjust its position on the screen. I kind of like it here in between, showing that help is on the way, and it kind of points to that, so that's kind of nice. Gives it a kind of added cue to the viewer. And then the last part of this statement, nor forsake us, and then just to go kind of to balance it out, we'll go on the other side. Again, filter, plus sign, size and position. And you always want to make sure that whatever you're working on has this red box around it. That means that's the selected item that you want to be working with. Let's make that smaller. Fit that in there. Let's make this all the same length, and then we'll have a test to see what it looks like. So these could probably be a little bit shorter. This one maybe. We'll leave this one the same, and then maybe shorten this one. I don't know if you can hear that. That's just my computer trying to keep up with the video and text. Sometimes that'll happen. Just let the computer do its thing, and it should get through it. So I like that timing a bit better. So we'll just move on to the next. You are the one who guides us through the wilderness and offers us hope. So for here, automatically I think of wilderness. So you could, and guide, you are the one who guides. So you could have, sometimes there are images of people leading. Again, whatever kind of message you're trying to send. Well, that's not really what I was looking for, so we'll try wilderness. This isn't quite either. I think I had to think of something different. It was more kind of coming out of a cave, but still having this kind of coming outside of something, or maybe being excuse me, confined in some space, or just needing to be led out from somewhere into a better space. So we've got that. Let's go back to Shotcut, playlist. And we'll drag this into here. Now we can add this in. Let's make it a bit longer. And, and then we'll bring in the text. We can use the "You Are the One" again. I should note too that if you ever want to use a similar, I guess there are two ways we could have done this. Since we've already positioned this one where we like it, this "You Are the One," we can copy that using Control C, and then you just click anywhere where you want the video to go, and then Control V was paste it, and then that'll have the same features and everything as the original. Or if you bring a new one in from the playlist and you know of a certain the filters that are applied to one, you can go to there and then save those specific filters to the clipboard, and then you take and you highlight the next clip that you're using, and then you can paste that so that the same features from one are applied to the other. So whatever you find works best. And you'll see that that's where we want it positioned at top, and it's exactly the same as this one. So we've kind of got some unity going there. Next part guides us through the wilderness. Shotcut. We'll reposition it. Plus. And the last bit of text. And there we go, Shotcut just crashed on me. So that's a good lesson to learn. I don't think I saved it that recently, so we'll see where that gets us. Okay, so we're back. We'll open any recent project that you've been working on will be shown here. So we can just click on that. And it should take us right back to where we were working. I didn't mention before, but you can see that the layout is very customizable. Anytime you see these dots here, or over here, 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 that means you can adjust. So if you need more space to work here, you can make this smaller. You can move this in and out. You can move this in and out. It's very customizable so that you can work the way you like. Okay. So I will just excuse me, I will just rebuild that quickly again. Okay, so we'll position this text. I kind of like the way this part of the cave matches the letters. That's nice how it kind of fits together like that. So we'll leave that. And then the last part of the text. Okay, so we'll position this text. I really like the way the cave follows the letters on through. It's kind of nice, so we'll leave that. Remember to save. Bring in the last part of that text. Okay, so Shotcut has decided it wants to keep crashing on me for the past few times, more like 5 times. So we're just gonna jump ahead a little bit. I've brought in the last part of this statement, but if I go to select it and have the image in the preview, it seems to crash. So we'll see if we can go to the next part and then come back to it. So the next part offers us hope, so you are the one who listens to our prayers. So for that kind of thing, you just think prayer, praying, praise are good keywords, and search for those. Hope, of course, thanks again, Reverend Nora, for making it a bit easier with these good descriptive words, and gives life to our dreams. So those are pretty straightforward to find images for. So back to Shotcut, we'll try to bring in those images and some of that text. So for this part, I liked one of these and this one. And here's a one for praying. So I'll drag those in. And just to remind myself what the text is. This is for prayers. Prayers, hope, and dreams. Again, we'll save it just in case anything happens. Okay, that's a good sign. We'll just reposition this image. just so you all know too, over here you can actually manually adjust things if you need a bit more precision. Just so you know that's there. And we'll reuse the "you are the one." Actually, I'll just copy and paste this one. Remember, Control C to copy and Control V to paste. Slide that there. Just reposition this. I saw a little black on the side there. We don't want that, so that looks better. Actually, because we've got the white text here, I will make it smaller. Just so the image and the text aren't fighting each other. There is a thing called masks in Shotcut. That's a bit more advanced, so again, a topic for another discussion. Next part of that statement: who listens to our prayers. You'll see that you use the position filter quite a bit. We'll just make this a bit bigger. So that covers that. Empowers our hope. Remember to save. This is the image I selected for the hope. Reposition this. And then it gives life to our dreams. I thought this image was pretty unique and kind of eye-catching, so it's, you never know what you'll find when you start searching. Usually to position it, I just eyeball it so that it looks as close to centered as possible. Lost part of the text. Let's make this smaller. Just again, so the image and the text aren't fighting each other. Okay, we'll save it again. And then let's see our timing. And Shotcut crashed again. Good thing that's where we save it. So just remember to always save and save often. I'm just going to jump ahead. Hopefully by now you're kind of getting the idea about timing and just how to position text. Yeah, so we'll just carry on and hopefully Shotcut shapes up, I guess. So we'll skip to this next part. So as we gather and worship this morning, as we honestly lay before you the deepest prayers of our hearts. So again, that feels to me kind of like a title card, like we started each of the other sections with. Help us to see your face. Again, we get into some visual, descriptive things that we can use to just kind of enhance what's written and to enhance the viewer's experience. So help us see your face. Sunrises, sunsets. Those are always kind of good for just good imagery. Help us feel your presence. Any kind of weather effect, wind, rain. Again, sunrise, sunsets, northern lights are quite beautiful. And then sacred, again, that kind of relates to praise. There's lots of images with just the environment and people with their hands up to the sky, and there's quite a few of those to choose from that can help you fit your situation. So we'll just keep going with that, and then we'll kind of wrap things up. Okay, so back to Shotcut. Just remind myself where we're at. Right. So we'll bring in that text. Again, even with this, I've got a lot of working files. I probably could have made a folder to have like final text and working files text. That's something to keep in mind. This is what I'm looking for. Bring these two in. I don't think I mentioned earlier, if there's ever anything you're wanting to get rid of, that's what you would just select, whatever you don't like, and this minus sign will take it off when you're in the playlist. Reposition this. Make sure I've got the order right. This one is actually the second part. Remember to save. Well, it's still not quite centered. This text is a bit longer, so we'll just increase it. The one tool I haven't really talked about much that also comes quite in handy if you're having to just trim or like cut out sections. It's this split at playhead. So wherever this is the playhead, wherever that is, if you click this button, you'll see it makes a division here so that you can break this into two pieces. That's mostly used or best used for like video, or if you have differing pieces at the end and you need them all the same length, you can do that. The great thing about Shotcut is even if you do that but you make a mistake and didn't want to do that, you can either Control Z undo, and undo like that, or make sure whatever one you're wanting to divide is selected. If we do this again, it doesn't actually destroy, so you can always put it back to its original even though it's been cut. Okay, so that comes in very handy. Okay, so now that we've got those title cards, let's save it again, and then help us to see your face. So we'll bring in the last few images. Here I like this sun. This one's for your presence, and then sacred moment. Resize this one. We'll bring in the last of the text. And again, I don't know if you know, if you just hold Control and click, you can select multiple things, and then we'll just bring in all three. We'll reposition this one. I want the sun to be kind of the focal point, so we'll put the text down here. Make it a bit bigger. Just gonna save it. The more you do this, the kind of you get a feel of just combining the text and the images and kind of what just feels right to you. A lot of it's just gut feeling and having fun with it and just trying things out to see what works the best. And just because this is kind of the final part, I'll put this at the bottom as kind of an endpoint, and just to make sure that we've got everything. It's good. We'll save it again. One of the things that I haven't mentioned yet, just to add a little bit, is it's a filter called a fade. If you can fade in and out, and that just kind of, it's a transition. You can use it throughout. I'll just add it to the beginning and end. Just if you have different scenes for a service, it just kind of eases the viewer into the next one, so it's not quite as abrupt. So you can select whatever clip you want, and we'll go plus, and we'll do fade in video. And you can see how that, and we'll add one. You can also, if you highlight over here, you can see, and you can adjust it down here. But since we've mostly been using the filters tab here, we'll just stick with that. Again, if you ever need to, this just deselects it. If you need to take it off or on, you can also adjust the length. Here you can minus lessens and plus increases. And then we'll just add one at the end. And here we'll do a fade out. And for the text, we'll do a fade out as well. Because the text is on it's technically a blank background, we can do this adjust opacity instead of fade with black, so that'll make it go invisible. It's just a little extra thing that makes the text look nicer. Now you'll see that we've come to the end of our little project, but the sound from the song carries on over, so we can use that fancy cut, or this tool here, split Up Playhead. So we'll just go about here, and then we'll click that split. And we can just press delete because this is highlighted, so we can get rid of that. We'll click delete, and that takes care of that. And then this adds the fade out again, and we can drag this, and just so it's a bit more in line, and these all kind of line up so everything fades out together. Just double check that that's, oh, it's a little bit too long. So there, just made it down to the 1 second, because if it's, you notice it's 30 frames per second what we started when we opened our project or started our project. So you'll see there's the numbers, that's the number of frames, and so when you get to 30 frames, that means it's about 1 second. And you can have differing lengths. I just find that one kind of is a nice transition. We'll save it. Okay, so just to review everything, these are the kind of main windows that we use. The playlist, that's where you put all your content that you want to have in your project, whether it be text, sound effects, audio, video clips, whatever, that will go in there. Filters, that's how you make changes to your clips. You can add different kinds of effects. You can change the size and position. That's what we used quite a bit today. Oh, that just reminds me. now that we're talking about filters, just want to get back into, for the sound, it is pretty good, but I just wanted to give you an example of what, say you have a sound that's too quiet, you would select your sound, filters, plus gain and volume. So here you've got that's full. You can see here how the peak meter jumps up, how that goes down. So depending on if you need it quieter or louder, you can adjust that. I'll just go to here. You'll see having a bit of a slowdown. See how it jumps up there. Well, I think the sound was okay. We don't want it too loud, so we'll just go back to 0. Or you can use the minus sign to just get rid of it altogether. But I just wanted to give you an example of how that extra filter comes in handy, especially when you have a longer project, a service or anything, and you want all your video, all your clips, if they have sound, to be consistent, just so that the volume isn't increasing or decreasing as the service goes on. That might be a little bit jarring too for the viewer. Just checking my notes. Oh, right, back to filters. So we talked about that. This is the timeline. This is obviously where all our clips and where our project is put together and assembled. Here's the preview. That always comes in handy. And here's the peak meter, which we just talked about. The one thing here, I like to have the jobs tab open. If it's not, you'll find it up here. You just click it and it will pop up over there. If you're doing multiple projects in a day, it'll show, as you'll see in a few minutes, just the progress of your project as it exports. So if something does go wrong, you'll know where it's at, or how much longer is left before it's finished, which is kind of nice too. And just to review the tools that we used, Snap comes in handy, especially if you're wanting to align things. It just makes things easier. You'll see here, there's the snap. We take it off. It doesn't have that little, it's a lot easier to overlap things, which we don't want. So we'll turn that back on, and there. Something else that comes in handy if you do have trouble lining something up, this area here is zoom. So if you click up here, you can have an easier time lining up that spot. And then you can use either those to click, or if you have a bigger jump, you just click that. And then there's the split at playhead tool we use too. That comes in very handy if you're needing to cut out sections, or just shorten clips or anything like that. Just to reiterate too how important it is for naming your files and your clips, just so that you remember what they are if you ever want to reuse them. Makes it very handy. Just about adding video tracks or removing them, you just right click and you can do remove track, you can insert, you can add video or audio. Those are kind of the main ones. These kind of get a bit more complicated, and I don't really use those, but they're there if you ever need them. So just right click on any of the selected one. You can also, if you need to test something out, you can see that this lock means you see the lines here. That means you can't change anything or move anything. So that's sometimes handy too if you're working on a section you don't want to accidentally delete or move something. You can either also turn off the sound, you can mute, and you can see how it got rid of that up there if you're just wanting to work on one layer at a time. So those kind of things come in handy. So I think that's pretty much it. So the last thing is just to save one more time. And then exporting your project is really simple. You export, you can either, there's export up here, export here, or you can go file, export video. There's lots of ways. I like it here again just because we use playlist and filters, and then you just use the stock and click default. You can also use YouTube, but default's just the first one is easiest. It works for pretty much everything again, so really simple. And then you don't need to change anything here, and then you just click export file, decide where you want it saved, and then make sure you like the title, MP4, and then you just click save. And see here in the job section, you'll see the percentage sign, and it'll give you approximate time. So you just let that run. And yeah, it doesn't, depending on the size of your project, it takes a little bit of time or a long time. Please be aware that video is very taxing on your computer. It helps to have a bit more powerful computer if you can. That also could lead to Shotcut crashing if your computer isn't quite as powerful. Exporting does take some time too. It can take up to 20 minutes or maybe even half an hour depending on how big your project is. So yeah, I'll just let this finish up and then we'll take it from there. Okay, now that Shotcut's done exporting, let's have a look. It's probably a good idea before you export, especially if it's a large project, just to make sure to watch it through Shotcut, just to make sure everything lines up well and you're just happy with it, just because exporting takes so much time. I've made mistakes and didn't catch them until after exporting, and then you have to go redo it, and it just kind of wastes time. So it's always a good idea to run through your timeline just to make sure everything's lined up. And then I still like to run through my finished movie, just again to make sure that everything looks good. So there it is. Again, if you know kind of where things are, you can just kind of skim through. Just kind of make sure you like that all the images kind of go to the edges. There's no unwanted open spots or anything like that. Make sure the sound is good. Skip to the end just to make sure that the fade out works well. And there you have it, a completed video project. Hopefully you found that interesting and useful and helpful. Thanks for watching, and all the best in your video editing journey. Thank you. Take care. Bye.